Interpreter when you slower tempo. I will stick there. Thank you. Thank you. I should be doing the same thing.
Since we have an interpreter, we can kind of slow down our pace a little bit.
Okay, go.
Welcome and thank you for joining us for this press briefing on the status of Hurricane Irma.
Hey, actually, it just started. I'm going to disconnect and connect to the audio booth. 1 second.
Could you speak a little bit?
Certainly.
Sir, please tell us the latest.
Okay, so let me start again. Welcome and thank you for joining us for this Hurricane Irma press briefing. I am Mark Woodard, Pinellas County Administrator. Here with me today are Sheriff Bob Galtieri, John Bennett, Assistant County Administrator responsible for Public Health, Safety, and Welfare, Sally Bishop, the county's Emergency Management Director, Chairman of the Board of County Commissioners, Janet Long, St. Petersburg Mayor Rick Kreisman, and Clearwater Mayor George Kretikos. And at the end of our formal briefing, we'll open the forum up for questions. We're here today to provide an update on the ongoing plans related to Hurricane Irma and to announce a mandatory Level B evacuation for all of Pinellas County effective 8 a.m. today. The 7 a.m. National Weather Service briefing confirmed the westward track of the storm that started yesterday. Based upon the current forecast track, we're expecting the following weather impacts within Pinellas County. Tropical force winds starting on Sunday at 2 p.m. and lasting for 24 hours. Hurricane force winds starting at 8 p.m. on Sunday and lasting for 9 hours. Rainfall totals of 6 to 8 inches with the potential to increase. Storm surge at 3 to 5 feet with the expectation of doubling that estimate with even a slight shift westward in the track of Hurricane Irma. The worst of the storm surge will occur on the back end of the storm, and that's estimated to occur between 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. on Monday. Given these forecast conditions, we declared the mandatory Level B evacuation for Pinellas County effective at 8 a.m. this morning. In addition to the 7 shelters that were opened yesterday to support the current Level A evacuation, we have opened 9 additional shelters today for a total of 16 emergency shelters available. This is a dangerous, impactful storm. It requires your serious attention and your immediate action. Pinellas County, our cities, and our other governmental partners have prepared and taken action. Now it's your turn. If you are in a Level A or B evacuation zone or reside in a mobile home anywhere within Pinellas County, you must evacuate. The time for procrastination is over. You must act now. And with that, I'll turn the briefing over to Sheriff Galtieri.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Mark. From a law enforcement perspective, we have maintained the checkpoints into the barrier islands and have restricted access as we talked about previously. So far it's going well. I would tell you that probably about 40% of the people who approach the checkpoints have been turned away because they shouldn't be out there and are not residents or business owners or people with a need to be there. I anticipate that we'll make a decision at some point as the day progresses today to further restrict access. And we will get to a point, and I can't tell you just yet when that point will be, but we will get to a point, and it will be sooner rather than later, that we are not going to allow anybody with access to the barrier islands. That includes residents, that includes business owners, that includes employees. So, as the county administrator said, this evacuation order is in place. It's an evacuation order that means now. It doesn't mean later. It means people need to go. This is a serious storm. People need to understand the gravity of it, the impact that it's going to have, and the serious threat to individuals' safety and to lives. And that's what our interest is making sure we do everything we can so that people stay safe. So against that backdrop is why we are going to, at some point, restrict further and at some point prohibit access. So as people are going back and forth now, that's not going to happen. So I want to be clear with that. Is the residents of the individual beaches, everything from Clearwater all the way down to Tierra Verde, are going back and forth. They need to leave and stay gone. So we will give people some warning on that, but that restriction will happen. Also in the Zone A and Zone B areas is people need to leave now. There is a deadline that under the order, but that deadline is a point in which enforcement action can begin. So that's why that's there. People shouldn't look at that deadline as the time in which they have to leave. So again, I want to stress to you that it's a serious storm. People need to leave now. We also are taking significant steps to ensure that individuals' property is being looked after and that it remains secure while they are gone and while their property is vulnerable. We have an extra 100 deputies that we've deployed into the Zone A and Zone B evacuation areas to patrol those areas with high visibility and to do everything we can to make sure your homes and your businesses stay safe, and that those who would want to commit thefts or burglaries or harm property in some way do not have the opportunity to do that. I've communicated with all of the police chiefs throughout Pinellas County. We're all on the same page. We're all doing the same thing, and we are moving forward with the evacuations and also planning for what's going to come in the days afterward, which is going to be significant. As far as the jail is concerned, the jail is in a Zone B evacuation area. We have a vertical evacuation plan. There are about 3,000 inmates in the Pinellas County Jail. About 1,000 of them are going to have to be relocated, and we're in the process of doing that. Pinellas Safe Harbor, which is the jail diversion program, is also an evacuation zone, and that has been shut down. The residents there are being relocated to a shelter. So I think that covers the overview from a law enforcement perspective, and happy to answer any questions at the appropriate time. So I believe Sally is next.
Sure. Before you leave, can you tell us how you deploy all these inmates? The 1,000 inmates? How is that going to happen?
So we have some facilities out there that are rated, Central Division, North Division, that are newer, that are rated for Category 4 storms. Some of the facilities out there were built in 1980, and they're not rated for anything. So some of those facilities that are very vulnerable, inmates are going to have to be moved out of those into the more secure facilities, and it's a vertical evacuation plan where people are moving up. Again, what we're most concerned about with all of this is water, is flooding. That's the greatest vulnerability, and we have some other considerations because of the correctional or jail environment. So everybody will be consolidated, and it is a challenge out there, and it will be a challenge because the jail is full, unfortunately. We have about 3,000 inmates in the jail, and without any of this, we have 200 that are on the floor. So it is going to be a challenging situation out there. We will do everything we can to mitigate the impact and to return it to normal housing as soon as we can. But it's going to take some time, and it's going to be something that we're going to have to deal with here for the next couple of days.
Sure. Can you talk about people being left on their own if they don't leave and the first responders have to go for their own safety, that there won't be typical 911 response?
Well, and this is why we're saying it and repeating it. We issue these evacuation orders not lightheartedly. It's a very serious consideration in order to do that. But we only do it when we know that we have to for individuals' safety and for overall public safety. And for people not to heed those warnings is a mistake. It's to their own detriment and potentially their own peril. And after we've done that, and we have asked and required and told them, is that if they don't do it, they're going to be on their own. And there's going to reach a point in time where we will pull all of the first responders off the streets because it is not safe for them to be out there. And after you've been told over and over and you chose not to listen to the warnings, you can call, but we're not coming because we're not going to put our people at peril and at risk. And I can tell you the other thing that we're not going to do, and I've said this, so let's just be straight about it, is that we are not going to arrest people. We're not going door to door. We're not dragging people off the beaches. It's a requirement. It's a mandate. It's an order. You need to evacuate. It's a crime not to do so. But at the end of the day is that if you want to make a bad decision, what I think is a stupid decision, then you get to do that. And we're not going to be arresting people. We're not going to drag you out. But we're also not going to put our people at risk and go out there and save you in the middle of this thing when you have been told repeatedly what you need to do and you chose not to do it.
Can you talk about, Sheriff, before you go, can you talk about when you think you'll pull the plug to restrict residents and business owners from going out to have beach access as well, please?
Sometime later today, and it depends upon, we have another National Weather Service call at 1 o'clock, waiting on some more information. We'll give us some thought and some consideration, and we will let you know. We will put out another media alert on that, and if need be, we'll gather you all and have a discussion about it, and we'll publish it. So it will be at some point today. I just can't tell you when because we don't have enough information to make that decision. I'm trying to balance it against the citizens' needs, and I don't want to do it too early, but I don't want to wait too long because I want to give people the latitude that they need. But at the same time, we've got to balance it against making sure that we have time to get our people off the streets as this begins. So we'll make the decision later today. I just can't give you any more definitive answer than that.
And I don't know if this is a question for you or for one of the other officials, but what's the estimated maybe number of people right now that is under this mandatory evacuation order?
About 260,000 total.
Does that have to be gone by?
Right now? Again, I'm not going to get into that because I've said it, is that it means right now. Okay, is that people, there's a mandatory evacuation order for Zone A, Zone B, plus everybody in mobile homes throughout the county, regardless of the zone you're in, and they need to go now. So don't worry about the when. Don't worry about when you could be arrested, because I've already said we're not going to do that. You need to go now. So let's just focus on what is the need, what should be the priority, is get your family, get your important things, go to someplace else within the county. It's not in an evacuation zone, with family, friends, or someplace. If you can't do that, go to a shelter, or if you've chosen to do that, leave the area, which is probably going to be challenging given the roadways and the road conditions and everybody else trying to leave. But the point of it is that let's focus on the moment and the immediacy, and that this is an imminent storm, so we need to do it now.
Is Zone C something that you're looking at
No.
realistically happening soon or not at this point?
No, and Sally Bishop can talk more about that, but we do not, based upon any of the information we have, believe under any scenario that a Zone C evacuation will be necessary. Now, one of the things that people often get confused about with this, the purpose for the evacuations is water. And under no scenario that we know of would the water level get to a point that will require a Zone C evacuation. So as we stand here right now, there is no scenario where that would be necessary.
I do have one more question. But just to clarify, we have been saying
Right.
all morning, because of yesterday's press conference, that, you know, the time period where there was that
Right.
misinformation
Right.
about, you know, you have the time to evacuate
Right.
between Friday and it was Sunday, 8 a.m. So I just want to make sure that we're not questioning,
Right.
you know, the immediacy of this, but we just want to make sure, like, if it's not 8 a.m. anymore, we need to
Right.
make sure we're just at least saying now.
So I don't think that there was any misinformation. I think there was some miscommunication perhaps, but it wasn't misinformation. So what happens when the emergency order is entered and the order to evacuate occurs? There has to be a beginning point. And during that point of the order, there has to be a time in which it can be enforced under state law, which means that somebody could be arrested Again, I've told you, and I reiterate, we're not doing that here in Pinellas County. I'm just not going to do it. And so you have to have in that order, if you don't have an end time in there, then you can't enforce it. So it was more of a legal thing being in the order itself. And so as people read the order and what was communicated, here's the beginning time, here's the end time, is that it was not intended to be conveyed as a window in which people had to evacuate. It was done for legal purposes, and it got turned into a window. So we're clarifying right now is that there is no window. The window is you need to leave, and the quicker you do it, the better. And the only time that you see in there is for legal purposes. Okay? So hopefully that helps clear it up for everybody, because we've been stressing this, and I know, and a lot of our partners in the individual cities and throughout the county and residents, and there was some confusion about it, but it's not misinformation. It was just some confusion over what it meant. Okay?
Sure. You mentioned 260,000. Is that the total number for A and B, or is that just for B?
Both combined.
Sheriff, is there any concerns or plans for sex offenders in the shelters?
I don't have any concerns about it. We'll deal with it. You know, my biggest concern is for the safety of every single person in this county, and that we do everything possible to mitigate the loss of life, to mitigate injury, mitigate the loss of property, and that every single person in this county stays as safe as they possibly can. That's my only concern, and that is the perspective from which we are proceeding.
You said 100 more deputies in the street?
Well, in the Zone A and Zone B areas, and they are solely dedicated to protecting individuals' property. So we have deployed all of our deputies on a mandatory A-B shift, and all days off were canceled, and we've actually doubled the number of deputies. And we, as you all may know, or citizens may know, is in Pinellas County's 24 cities, the Sheriff's Office provides police protection in 13 of those 24 cities. I sent communication out to the mayors and the city managers this morning. In all of those contract cities, we've doubled their personnel. And in many of the patrol areas, we've doubled the personnel by bringing everybody in, canceling days off. And in addition to those that are out there on regular patrol, we put an additional 100 out just in the Zone A, Zone B areas for the sole purpose of being in the neighborhoods and protecting those businesses on top of everything else. So we're making a significant, as we should, effort at taking care of individuals' property while they are vulnerable because of the evacuation.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Sheriff. We'd like to thank our media partners for assisting us in getting this critical information out to the public, and at this point I'd like to open up for any other questions you might have.
I want to ask you, Manatee County opened up the shelters for all residents with pets. Is that something that Pinellas County would venture out at this point? Is that something you guys are discussing? I thought it was a pretty good idea. I didn't know if you guys thought so as well.
I'll ask John Bennett and Sally to respond to that question.
Good morning, great question. We have 3 pet-friendly shelters, and we have about 350 pets in those now. We have dogs, cats, and rabbits, last time I checked. But I can tell you that our Pinellas County Animal Services team is open to accepting. We're not going to turn somebody away because a pet is coming through the door. They're working with all shelters to make sure that people come there, because we know that's sometimes a hindrance to evacuation. But those 3 pet shelters have capacity that they're working with, and I can tell you from talking to them directly that they're going to work with every family that shows up if they have to.
Can you talk about the differences you see in this hurricane compared with others you've dealt with in the past? What makes this one so unique?
Well, the intensity, first of all. I mean, most everybody up here worked Hurricane Elena, Hurricane Charlie, either in preparation or in support down south. And then, of course, we've had a few that we've, the 2004 season. But the trajectory and the intensity is probably the most challenging for us. I don't think any of us has seen this level, which emphasizes the sheriff's points about evacuation. This is something to take extremely seriously.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Is there a way, if people who are not in mandatory evacuation zones, is there any guidance you would give them as far as staying or going and finding safe places in their home if they decide to stay?
Sure. We encourage all of our residents to look over their wind plans. The ideal plan would be to look at your tornado plan to make sure that you know where the interior rooms would be, that you could be safe. And all those things are found on our website, and everything is functionally fine, PinellasCounty.org. And go to our emergency management pages and look up the tornado information. That'll help you understand how to deal with high wind. And if you don't feel safe in your home, find somebody that gives you that level of comfort, even if you're in a non-evacuation area. Sometimes it's compatibility, sometimes it's structurally you feel better where you are. Let's look at those options.
Do you have any idea how many people are in shelters right now?
I'll answer it this way, not enough. We need more people to take this seriously. The sheriff told you over and over again what needs to happen. The numbers are changing all the time, so I don't want to give a number at this point because, we think people are moving at their certain pace, but I want to emphasize over and over again what the sheriff said. There's not enough in shelter, and we need everybody to take this seriously.
Can you just confirm that none of the shelters are full? We received a couple of phone calls that people were telling us that one of the shelters they tried to go to was full and that they were denied. But I just want to confirm that.
I have no information on any shelter being full at this point or anybody being denied at a shelter.
Is there enough shelter space for the 260,000 people?
So when people evacuate, not everybody goes to a public shelter. We call that the lifeboat. A lot of people go to family or friends and they move to different levels of evacuation. There's behavioral models out there, so it's not a one-to-one relationship. There's people that have left town. There's people that live here on a seasonal basis. But the capacity that we've worked with based on our analysis and our A and B level, not to mention the county administrator said that we opened additional shelters above the evacuation zone, is what we're looking for to handle our capacity.
If the shelter were to get full capacity, would they ever turn someone away, or would they rather super bad?
We would start to look to manage the space. Shelter space is managed by sort of a square foot science, but we're going to cram everything we can in for life safety.
What's the traffic like out there?
Right now it's light.
People trying to evacuate.
Yeah, well, right now it's light. And remember, one of the things that people can do if you want to check the interstates is dial 511. And the Department of Transportation will tell you where things are clogged and if there's any issues on the interstates. Right now, in addition to everything else I've told you, we also have many, many law enforcement officers throughout the county that are on traffic posts out there. We are monitoring the traffic on all of the major arteries, east-west arteries out of the county, on 275, on US 19 going northbound. So right now, it's running smoothly, and there are no traffic impediments within the county to evacuate.
Sheriff, what worries you most about this situation personally?
People not taking it seriously. That's what worries me the most. People being cavalier about it, being nonchalant about it, and that we're going to have to mop up a big mess on the backside because they didn't listen to what we said. I get it. Believe me, we all get it because of what we've been through. And sometimes people get numb to this and, oh, here we go again kind of thing. That's not the situation, and we've said that. And there are the absolute majority of us, if not all of us, are very conservative in our approaches to these things because we recognize the gravity, the magnitude, and are aware of the consequences of the decisions that we make on people. And we don't make these decisions lightly. We don't take it lightly. And so I am concerned about people taking it too lightly and somebody getting hurt when they didn't have to. That's probably the singular. We can deal with all the operational stuff and the aspect of it. We've got people, we've got equipment, we've got resources, we've got planning. The emergency management staff has done a phenomenal job. But people not listening to us, and we want to help them, but we can't force them.
Sheriff, we're talking about traffic. In this time frame, do we still suggest people get out there on the road and try to leave or evacuate and get somewhere else, or just try to find a shelter at this point?
The options are, if you're in a mandatory evacuation zone, is to go someplace, whether it's family, friends, whoever it is in a non-mandatory evacuation zone that you feel safe. Remember that people evacuate because of water. There will also be a significant wind event with this. And we will have, as predicted, hurricane force winds in Pinellas County for 9 hours. That's substantial. And when you have hurricane force winds in Pinellas County for 9 hours, people need to know their homes. And there may be in homes, because of wind that we don't know about, some vulnerabilities. And if they don't feel safe because of knowing that they need to prepare for 9 hours of hurricane force winds, then they need to go someplace that they feel is safe and can withstand that, in addition to the potential water. So the first preference is they go to someplace that is safe from a water and, in this case, a wind perspective. Then, if they don't have someplace, then that's what the shelters are there for, and they can go to the shelters. And of course, they have the option of just leaving the area altogether, but that window, if it isn't already gone, is close to being gone.
That's what I want you to talk a little bit about.
Right.
I don't know if there's congestion out there as far as 75, 275, I-4.
So I know that there is congestion, and to be honest with you, I've been busy, so I haven't been watching the news. But everything that I have seen is that in 75, 95, and all the interstates, there is significant congestion. I saw some last night up in Chiefland on US 19. It was bumper to bumper, wall to wall people. Remember, this is another unique situation in Florida, is because it's in the entire state is being impacted and affected. Normally, if you will, it's one region. So you're going to have people in one region, whether it's Tampa Bay, Southeast Florida, wherever, and you're going to have people from that region that need to go someplace. Well, you got everybody from the south part of the state that is coming north, and as it progresses northward, you have additional people that are adding on to it. So it is significantly compounding. And so the people in the middle of the state are adding on to the people in the south of the state as it goes forward. So it's creating a real logjam. And because you have so many people that are trying to, as opposed to from one region. So that's another reason why we made the decision we did here early on at evacuation, because that was a factor in people being able to have a window to move out of the area.
Right.
One of the things I want to say as we're sitting here is, and say thank you to, is because they go unnoticed in this, is the families, the husbands, the wives, the spouses, the significant others of the emergency management staff and of all the first responders. You know, we signed up for this. They didn't. And they're taking care of things while we are here taking care of business. So thank you to all the family members of all of the emergency management staff, to all of the police officers, paramedics, EMS, firefighters, and their families for taking care of things while we're here doing this. Anybody have anything else?
For people who are deciding to stay in their homes and hunker down, you common phrase, do you have any advice for them as far as what they should have with them in that interior closet or interior hallway?
Sure. As mentioned, you know, the most interior room of your house, you know, the tornadic activity is part of a hurricane. That's why I ask people to look at the tornado plans. It'll call for you to be in an interior room, potentially have soft items around you. Some people can keep their mattress, small mattresses, inflatable mattresses close by. You know, something to cushion if for some reason you lost some of your structural capabilities. And I can tell you, we've seen storms that are predominantly wind events, and people do fairly well in those. So, you know, as the sheriff said, we evacuate from water, we hide from wind, which is why we're encouraging you to go to an interior room of your house during that, you know, the significant part of the hurricane force winds for those 9 hours. But should a tornado spawn out of that system, you need to have your tornado plans ready as well. And of course, the communication within a hurricane system is going to be a little different than a tornado that's just in a normal summer afternoon storm as far as that goes. So it's kind of built into the environment is what I'm trying to say. So you have to have that tornado plan. You know, if you have a two-story home, we suggest you stay on the ground floor throughout the evening, not go to the upstairs room. Stay as low as possible as long as you're in a non-evacuation area. Some people will evacuate up for those reasons for water, but if you do live in a two-story home and we're looking at the wind significance, you should be on the ground floor. Know where your interior rooms are. Listen for those sounds that are traditionally part of a tornado, like that train coming, and then you need to get into that interior room and surround yourself with soft items as best as possible. All of that needs to be staged ahead of time because you could be doing this in the dark because you may have lost power by that point. So you need to have your lighting capability ready to go. You need to make sure your cell phones are charged up. All of your devices that we didn't have in 2004 that we have today, or even back in 1985 for Elena, have all that stuff poised, everything topped off. All of your supplies handy, should have at least 3 or 4 days of water, food, those kind of things, until we start coming back online. And then you'll survive the storm.
Sheriff, are you concerned about people rushing to get back to their homes once the hurricane's over?
Well, it is a concern. Reentry is a concern, and we will make sure that it's done in an orderly way. We also have great empathy and sympathy for those that will be going into or back into devastation, and that they want to get back to their homes and to their businesses. But what we need to make sure is that it's safe for them to do that. And we absolutely understand that there's a high level of anxiety that goes with this, because people are concerned. And we will be empathetic to that, but at the same time is that it needs to be done safely and it needs to be done orderly. So my concern, to the extent that there's a concern, is that people need to know they need to work with us, because we are going to work with them. But they may not get access at the very moment they want, because it may not be safe to do so. But we will make sure that we are doing it as efficiently as possible, so that they have access as soon as possible to their homes and businesses and those things that are most important to them. So we're well aware of the dynamics, and we will take that into consideration in the decisions we make about reentry.
Are there any other questions? Well, thank you again for getting this information out to the public. It's very important. It's critical to their safety, and so thank you to our media partners.
We have availability for our officials if anybody would like